I always preferred the phase out to the ghost. Where your messages just get shorter and shorter and you take longer to respond. And so like they then stop responding. You force them to be a ghost. So like you murder them? Hi everyone, I'm Tracy, and this is Dying Alone Together, your pandemic-era guide to navigating the dating and hookup apps right up until the sweet release of death. Now, while I myself have no interest in making any myrtle moan, I assume that the advice dispensed in this video will apply to all sexualities and gender identities for the most part. But if anything in this video triggers or offends you in any way, I want you to be sure to write a thoughtful blog that dissects all the ways in which I'm problematic before getting ready for your shift at the coffee barn. You cannot be late again, Dakota. Last week, I dragged your preferences, and you can watch that here. And this week, I'm here to tell you why I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Ghosting. The second most overused G word in the dating world aside from gaslighting. We've all done it. We have all had it done to us. But for those of you who have been in a committed relationship for the last 10 years and are watching this video to learn how the other half lives, the primary definition of ghosting is the epidemic where someone that you've shown romantic or erotic interest in stops contacting you because they're just not into you anymore. Side note, the secondary definition of ghosting is the cousin to the stranger, where you sit on your hand until it falls asleep, and then instead of jerking off, you finger yourself and imagine that you're being taken by the ghost of a burly coal miner who died in a mine collapse in the 1800s. Or in the 2000s as an employee of Murray Energy.
Damn.
It's called ghosting because our egos react violently to the rejection of a non-response and assume that the other person must have died, because who in their right mind after meeting and or breeding us wouldn't want to continue doing so? You and I both know that we're amazing and the perfect match for everyone. Rather than retell ghosting experiences of my own or wag a finger at repeat visitors to the great beyond, instead I'm going to use my negligible platform to give my tens of listeners a hot take. Ghosting is good. Sometimes. Let's start with some examples of when ghosting is perfectly acceptable, and then we can unpack the underlying reason why that is together. Acceptable ghosting. 1. You've never met in person. 2. You have met in person twice or less. 3. You've met in person a lot, but the only interaction you've had with this person is sex. And 4. The person you're ghosting has revealed themselves to be a psychopath. Before I explain why ghosting is acceptable in those 4 situations, for those of you who think that it is actually never ever appropriate to ghost anyone, and all relationships, no matter how brief or tenuous, require closure. And you each need to provide a list of reasons why the relationship is ending in order to empower the person to conduct a post-mortem on your time together. You are forgetting 3 very, very important factors about humanity. 1, no one likes to be rejected. 2, text messaging disinhibits and thereby fuels frank conversation. And 3, most hoes be crazy. And so the reason that ghosting is acceptable in those prior circumstances, it's the same reason. The risk of backlash and the strife that causes, or the current level of meaning you have to the other person at present, neither is worth the pain of inflicting point-blank rejection. For the person doing the ghosting in those situations, those relationships have not reached a level of intimacy that creates a duty for that person to kindly and respectfully take Old Yeller behind the shed, nor should that person bear the risk of being the target of rejection-based rage. For the person being ghosted in those situations, you're actually being spared the pain of having your mediocrity put on blast by someone who you don't even really know, so why do you fucking care? Now, for relationships that have reached a more heightened level of intimacy, the right thing to do is to respect the other pig by providing them closure that is both clear on outcome and vague on details. However, ghosting can still be an acceptable and useful tool in more discrete and specific ways when it comes to intimate relationships. The most clear example of acceptable ghosting in that circumstance is it's that rare moment when you learn that your special someone that you've decided isn't so special anymore has a short fuse, no fucks, and an affinity for knives. Like me. The other situation where this is acceptable is when you start to get the sense that they are actually not particularly interested in you anymore, and you have become the sole engine of continued communication. Here's a helpful example. You meet someone on a dating app and sparks fly. They are exceedingly complimentary and flirtatious, and you realize you're being chased. It's been a while, and it's thrilling. They say all the right things, and they're so anxious to meet you. You look down at the ground and realize, no, your feet are no longer there. You've been swept. And so you rush to meet, and the connection just works. You hold hands early, you make an unexpected plan to meet up between your scheduled dates, and surprise, you can't keep your hands off each other. Suddenly, you find yourself enamored with this person, as they seemingly were towards you from the very beginning. Could you be falling? Smitten, you can't help but start sending them little good morning texts, and you ask how their day went before you go to bed. They respond with the wit and charm that you've come to expect from them, paired with absolutely nothing to further the conversation from their side. Over the next several days, you notice that no plans have been made for future get-togethers, and while the person is responsive and certainly flirtatious, their only messages to you are in response to something that you've sent. And so, my dear, sweet, innocent little fawn, it is time to play a game. Play a game? I don't play games. I ain't into playing no games. It's not so much a game as it is a strategic ghosting. What you do is, when you realize that you have been chased and conquered and are now the only one putting in an effort to your relationship, you stop initiating contact and wait to see what happens. If the person is genuinely interested in you, they're going to send you a message because they've thought of you, or they want to make a plan, or in a moment of contemplative silence, they remember what your holes taste like. In this circumstance, you discover that this person is very much interested in you, but they're happy to let you take the lead because that's just their general relationship setting. Happily ever after. However, if the person never sends you another message ever again, this person was not interested in you in a sufficient quantity to justify your continued relationship, and so you bet a ghost. Likely, this person was stuck. They knew that the level of intimacy was very high due to their breakneck speed right out of the gate, and so they knew that it required them to provide you closure when ending the relationship. And so they didn't feel like they could just ghost you because of that. But on the other hand, despite knowing that and being a kind person, at the same time, they're a little bitch who can't bring themselves to pull the trigger. And so they're happy to string you along forever. They will allow you to continue to fuel the relationship on your side entirely in perpetuity. They will reap all of the benefits of your attention and flirtation while entirely avoiding the pain of having to grow a fucking set. And so, by playing this game of strategic ghosting, you end up letting them off of the hook by giving them the opportunity to be the ghost, to be the little bitch they are, while you move on to focus on new opportunities worthy of your time and attention. So, listen, in the end, you're not even the one ghosting. You have made them a ghost, and so in that way, you've done the kindest and most compassionate thing any human being can do for any other human being. You've assisted in their suicide. No one likes to be rejected, you know that, but what you might be overlooking is, at the same time, no one likes to do the rejecting. It feels bad on both sides, and so how about we all just agree that it's acceptable to end light relationships the way most of you hope that your own lives end, slipping away silently in the night due to natural causes, rather than the way I know I'll go, in a fiery explosion that takes several of you with me. Until next week, when I will either post a new video or simply stop making an effort and let this relationship quickly fade into obscurity along with all of my personal ones, stay safe, wear a mask, and stay involved in politics after the election. When we get lazy, they get crazy. I'm Jack Tracy signing off, reminding you that if we're all gonna die alone, we might as well do it together. If you enjoyed this little program, I want you to go ahead and like this video the way that you do TikToks of drag queen transformations where they toss a Payless mule into the air while barely lip syncing 10 seconds of a song they haven't bothered to learn. Smash that subscribe button the way that you would every potential Democratic voter in Georgia if you think that it would motivate them to participate in the Senate runoff and vote for both Democratic candidates, which would allow us to take the Senate, unfuck the Supreme Court, abolish the Electoral College, make DC and Puerto Rico states, forgive student debt, ban fracking, support Medicare for all, and champion the Green New Deal. And turn on notifications so you can know right away when there's a new video of me shaming others for doing things that I myself do all the time. You can also check out Necessary Outlet's Gay Dramedy History, several comedy shorts, and a few music videos that fully feature my homosexuality, all on this YouTube page. Enjoy.